2025 is already shaping up to be yet another banger of a year when it comes to JRPGs, especially for the Nintendo Switch. We've already seen stellar releases such as East Memoir, The Oath in Felghana, Freedom Wars Remastered, and Tales of Graces F Remastered, with plenty of more JRPGs bound for the Nintendo Switch in 2025. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about every single JRPG that is coming to the Nintendo Switch in 2025. So another JRPG I'm really excited for the Switch is Phantom Brave: The Lost Hero. Now apparently this game is a sequel to the original from the PlayStation 2 back during the mid-2000s. However, in this sequel, Phantom Brave: The Lost Hero, the one thing that is really catching my attention is apparently that it's gridless tactical turn-based battles. I'm someone who really loves tactical turn-based combat in JRPGs, but not actually having the checkerboard or like the chess-like grid board. It's more sort of free roam in appearance. That's going to be really interesting to play around with and get used to as a type of combat within a JRPG. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I will say that with NIS games, I do believe they're kind of a bit hit and miss. Sometimes NIS games are really good, other times they're a bit more mediocre, but I am really excited to try this one. Like I mentioned, I love my turn-based RPGs, and I think Phantom Brave: The Lost Hero is going to be one of those gems that I thoroughly enjoy for what it is. Hyper Devotion Noir Goddess Blackheart is a spin-off title featuring Noir as the leading character. Unlike previous Hyperdimension Neptunia games, Hyper Devotion Noir Goddess Blackheart is not set within the world of game industry, but instead within a similar but separate world known as Game Market. The CPUs of each of the four nations are locked in heated battle against one another for dominion over this world. Just as Noir is one step away from the complete domination, the CPUs are suddenly robbed of their powers by an unknown force. Now, in order to save the world from destruction, the four CPUs must unite Game Market and defeat the onslaught. Hyper Devotion Noir Goddess Blackheart releases for the Nintendo Switch on the 13th of February in 2025, so be sure to pick this one up. No longer threatened by the mafia organization El Mata, the people of Kelvad have returned to their peaceful lives, but one day a shocking series of murders involving a mysterious Crimson Beast sets the wheels of fate in motion once again. Various factions spring into action, both those who abide by the law to uncover the truth and those looking to capitalize on any new developments wherever possible. With chaos once again looming on the horizon, the Spriggan Van Arkwright receives an unexpected visitor, prompting his own investigation. The sands of time bring old and new faces together for this thrilling second installment in the Trails Through Daybreak saga. Trails Through Daybreak 2 launches for Switch on February 14th, 2025. Danmachi Full of Water and Light is an action JRPG game being developed by Bushiroad Games for Nintendo Switch. It will also be released simultaneously on Steam. The game will have a completely original story with the author himself, Omori Fujino, in charge of the script. It was announced on January 6, 2024 at the Bushiroad New Year's Grand Presentation 2024. Kakage is in charge of character design, and the game is scheduled to release on February 27, 2025, and will have a limited edition. The first series of these will include a done full visual book, a short story written by Omori Fujino, a special edition of a collection of recorded lines, a CD with the game's original soundtrack, a square metal badge, a special box of the limited edition, and the regular edition package. Oh my god, that is a lot. The short story focuses on the game's original characters and is over 40 pages long, so be sure to mark this one on your calendar and get those pre-orders in before this game sells out online. In 2025, I'm really excited for is Suikoden 1 and 2 HD Remaster. Now this is a double pack of remasters we've all been waiting for a really long time. I swear these games were announced like 2 or 3 years ago, maybe even longer. They've been in development for such a long time, but I'm really hoping that these games are going to be amazing when they come out. Apparently there's a lot of quality of life improvements to look forward to. The one thing I'm really sort of excited about are the environmental noises that you'll get to experience when playing Suikoden 1 and 2. So when you're walking around, you can hear dynamic alterations with the footsteps. I'm sure you'll be able to hear different things with the actual environment itself. So if you're traversing through like rivers, forests, mountains, you might be able to hear like gusty winds. It'll have that sort of like surround sound effect, especially when you're wearing headphones. I'm a huge music and audio guy within games, really important to JRPGs especially. And of course, my buddy Generation Pixel here on YouTube is probably super excited for these remasters, and he's also probably going to give me crap for pronouncing pronouncing the names of these games incorrectly. In the near future, humanity is teetering on the edge of extinction, subjugated by the fearsome poison, a plant monster that alters the space-time continuum. Led by the enigmatic Maliki, a handful of temporal survivors have joined forces and are coordinating their efforts from the domain, a haven outside of time that is so far safe from the threat. Play as Sand as you travel through the ages to repair the continuum. Use your chrono pack to manipulate time, fight the monsters that have infested past worlds alongside Becky, Fang, and Fenimale, a wacky and slightly magical band of characters. Wage strategic battles altering time to trigger devastating joint attacks with your teammates. Maliki Poison of the Past is a fantastical odyssey with great depth, offering a surprising mix of role-playing, exploration, temporal riddles to solve, and turn-based combat. Rest and prepare in the domain, take care of the 1,000-root tree that protects it from the monster, harvest, cook, improve your equipment, and send your hero into the bisections of time with even more powerful and wacky accessories. Maliki Poison of the Past will release for Nintendo Switch on the 11th of March this year. Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition. If you are a long-time watcher of the channel, you know how much I love Xenoblade. It is my all-time favorite JRPG franchise. And Xenoblade Chronicles X is the one game in the series I've never played, so I'm really excited to finally get my hands on it, have it in all of its remastered glory here on the Nintendo Switch. Now, after looking at the trailer, it doesn't look like it's too much of a graphical difference or jump. The character models do look better. I think there's more life in the eyes of characters like Elma. She was already stunning as it was, but she's even more beautiful than ever before. And unfortunately, I have been spoiled with some story elements. It's not going to be like super surprising with all of the plot revelations when they happen. I know this game is more gameplay focused than it is philosophical, themed story focus, but I'm also really looking forward to what they teased at the end of the Definitive Edition trailer. Apparently that is one of the so-called cliffhangers people talk about with the original game on the Wii U. But yes, Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition is my most hyped game for 2025. So literally a day later of the release of Xenoblade X is going to be Atelier Yumiya, the Alchemist of Memories, and the Envision Land. Now, I really liked the Atelier Ryza games. So much adventure and exploration to have, and of course Atelier Ryza herself. You gotta get down with those thighs, bro. I mean, holy hell. One really interesting piece of information I found out about Atelier Yumiya is apparently the director has confirmed he's taken inspiration from the Halo games. Now, I don't know if that's to do with like story progression or the semi-open world nature of the game, but one of my buddies, Mad Kaiser here on YouTube, I watched a video of his a few weeks ago, could have even been about a month ago now, and he pointed out how one of the weapons that one of the characters uses, I don't know if it was Yumiya or somebody else, one of the weapons they use is like the Needler from Halo. It's got all these pink crystal shards that fly out everywhere and lock onto enemies. That is definitely something straight out of Halo. And for me, someone who actually really likes the Halo games, at least the original games, that's actually really exciting that Yumiya is taking inspiration from Halo. In All in Abyss Judge the Fake, you adventure to become a successful gambler by challenging others at the game of Texas Hold'em Poker. Use various skills to achieve victory in poker, expose the hands of the witches, all in to steal their winnings, and become the ruler of the gambling district. The story follows Asaha Senahara, a self-proclaimed genius gambler. Amidst the tables of cards and dice, it is her alone who snatches the chips at stake, and one day, she learns of the gambling district The City, a special ward where gambling holds influence above all else. In this city run by the strongest gamblers known as the Witches, Asaha experiences the first defeat in her life. They exercise not luck, not skill, but dirty tricks, such that felled Asaha to the depths of the abyss. As a self-proclaimed genius gambler, Asaha becomes determined to take down the Witches. The Colosseum is the battlefield. The challenger is Asaha Senahara. The chips are on the table, and the Witches are ready to be exposed. All in Abyss Judge the Fake launches for Switch on April 10, 2025. On this list I'm keen for is the Luna Remastered Collection. Now, this is very similar to Suikoden in regards to that it is a remastered double pack, and from what I've seen in the trailers, I really love the animated cutscenes that are in this game. Being someone who is a massive fan of anime itself, I think it's going to be quite an enjoyable experience having those anime cutscenes in the game. And I've got to say, like, having all of these JRPG remakes and remasters that have been coming out over the past 2 years or so, we are eating really good. And plus, the other thing is, there's a lot of classic JRPGs I've missed out on over the years, especially considering that things were on other platforms that weren't Nintendo. So being able to play some of these games from childhood, which I never got to play in the first place, it's going to be like a dream come true. In the 100-line Last Defense Academy, Takumi Sumino is a totally average teenager living in the Tokyo residential complex, a place where every day is much like the last and nothing bad ever happens. All that changes when freakish monsters attack the town and start wreaking havoc. A strange creature calling himself Sire appears and offers Takumi the power to protect those he holds dear, and all he has to do is stab himself in the chest. The next thing he knows, Takumi is in Last Defense Academy, a school in the middle of nowhere surrounded by a wall of otherworldly flames. He and 14 other students have been drafted into the Special Defense Unit, a team tasked with keeping the school safe for the next 100 days. How much are they willing to sacrifice to take back their normal lives and save the world from grotesque school invaders? The curtain rises on 100 Days of War and Despair. The 100-line Last Defense Academy comes to Nintendo Switch on April 24, 2025. Fantasy Life I, The Girl Who Steals Time is an upcoming title in the Fantasy Life series that was initially slated to be released last year on October 10th. However, the release was later delayed with additional details mentioned during a Level 5 vision. The release of this game is currently set to be sometime within April 2025, and the game takes place on an uninhabited isle somewhere in the seas of Riveria. On this island lies a mystery that no one has been able to solve, with a gaping hole, a dragon made of bone, and a girl's message that begs you to save the world. Not gonna lie, that kind of sounds a bit sus. This is your story, 1,000 years in the making, and journey between two time periods and uncover a new truth. Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma. Now, when I've looked at pre-order listings for this game on EB Games' website, this is also going to be getting a collector's edition, which is available for pre-order, and there's quite a bit in there. There's like a plushy keychain, I think there's an art book, there's a sound selection CD, there's download codes for DLC. It's actually got quite a bit of stuff, so I've got to make sure I get this bad boy on pre-order. Now, one pretty interesting thing I've noticed with the character designs in this game is that they look more realistic in regards to their bodily proportions. All of the characters are a bit more sort of like normalized humanly, if that makes any sense. Because usually with the Rune Factory games, the character designs have sort of been that semi-chibi art style. So it is pretty interesting to see them do something a little bit different with this next Rune Factory game. And hopefully we get a proper release date for Guardians of Azuma sometime soon, because it would be nice to know a date to get those pre-orders in. So get ready for the latest entry in the Inazuma 11 series, with an original story featuring new main characters, over 4,500 players from across the series' history to collect and train, as well as exciting online tournaments to compete against players worldwide. You can play the game your way. In story mode, 25 years after the events of the original Inazuma 11, the new protagonist Destin Billows enters South Cirrus Junior High in search of a world without football. And on the other side of the coin is Harper Evans, a bona fide football monster from the prestigious Ryman Junior High, which occupies the top spot in the national tournament. Everything will change when these two paths eventually cross. Inazuma 11 Victory Road is planned for release on Nintendo Switch sometime in June of this year. Now, this is a pretty big deal of a JRPG, and that's The Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky, the first remake. Now, me personally, I still haven't played or touched my Trails games I've got on Nintendo Switch. I'm actually quite intimidated to get into the series, and I've had a lot of my YouTube buddies tell me to get into the Trails games. I'm sure that I'll really like them. I'm sure that it is a series that I am gonna absolutely love, which is why this game is on the list. And I think this is the one game of the Trails series I'm I'm going to start with, and I got to say that this remake is visually stunning. I'm really excited for this Trails in the Sky remake. The combat looks amazing, it looks really fluid and super fun, and I think I'm going to have an absolute blast getting my hands on this one. Atelier Resleriana, the Red Alchemist and the White Guardian is a follow-up JRPG to Atelier Resleriana, Forgotten Alchemy and the Polar Knight Liberator. According to Koei Tecmo, the new game will be a new adventure from the world of Atelier Resleriana, but it'll feature new protagonists and an original story. At the moment, it's not expected to follow up with the characters from the previous game, and all we know about the Red Alchemist and the White Guardian so far is that it's currently in development for PC, PlayStation and Nintendo Switch, and that it's intended to launch sometime within 2025. So I guess we'll all have to keep our eyes peeled and stay tuned for more information regarding this game down the line. Dragon Quest 1 and 2 are also receiving the HD 2D remake treatment and are expected to launch sometime this year within 2025. I'm hoping that these games also get physical editions available on the Nintendo Switch, or at least are bundled together in a double pack of some kind. It would be amazing to have the first 3 Dragon Quest games fully remade and reimagined in that glorious HD 2D art style, and as a physical collector, I've got my fingers crossed. So in the meantime, all we can really do is play Dragon Quest 3 Remake and patiently await for more news on these games. Fate Extra Record is an upcoming remake of Fate Extra being developed by Type Moon Studio BB. It will release in 2025 on PS4, PS5, Switch and PC via Steam. Fate Extra Record will retain the same exploration gameplay featured in the original with the redone interface. Combat will no longer retain the rock, paper, scissors mechanic from the original, where all actions were selected before combat initiates. Instead, actions are selected from a rotating list of commands, with each costing a specified amount of AP, with the first action initiating combat, and more can be selected from there if there's enough AP available. Both combatants will have their own turns. Instead of exchanging blows like in the original, there is now a guard gauge which depletes depending on the damage of the enemy's initial attack. A fully depleted guard gauge will likely trigger a guard break. Multiple attack programs will be featured in combat, and hopefully we hear more on this JRPG soon. Lost Helden is a unique hand-painted JRPG from Artisan Studios. Take control of 8 unique, highly customizable characters through an epic mature story where the 7 deadly sins guide your fate. Witness a new, deep 2D technology allowing you to play in 3D in hand-painted artworks with dynamic lighting and weather. Introducing a battle system mixing action and strategy to allow you to play the way that you like. Lost Helden is expected for release on Nintendo Switch sometime this year. Mononoke no Kuni is an adventure game where you explore a strange and mysterious world inhabited by Mononoke creatures alongside a Shiba Inu puppy named Musashi. In this world, various Mononoke are waiting to meet you. You will meet Mononokes with various personalities and enjoy interacting with them. Some of these Mononokes have become wild due to unknown reasons and appear as a Mamono. Your goal is to fight monsters to save this world, gather sacred artifacts, and defeat the bosses. The world of Mononoke is depicted with artistic graphics, with each region having different landscapes and atmospheres, creating a mysterious and fascinating world. Together with your companion Musashi, you will embark on an adventure. A puppy that died in the real world must save the world of Mononoke to live as a god. Can you defeat the bosses with Musashi? Mononoke no Kuni also doesn't have a current release date apart from sometime within 2025. Now, of course, the very last game on this list is Pokemon Legends ZA. Now, the one thing that I'm actually really wondering about this game is if it's set in the past or the future, or a mix of the two, because my little theory is that in the brief teaser trailer we got for this game, when it's right at the end and it's showing the blueprints for Lumios City, it all sort of scans through with this neon blue futuristic looking blueprints. Then it fades back into a Victorian era type of pencil and paper. So I do wonder if we can alternate between the past and the future. And that's a possibility considering that's exactly what the themes were in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. So I would not be surprised if they're taking some of those elements from the game and applying it to Legends ZA. Of course, I love Pokemon. Legends ZA is probably going to be good, hopefully, fingers crossed. But yeah, I'm excited for this one. Now guys, please let me know if I've left out any JRPGs that have been confirmed for Switch in 2025. I believe I've covered everything that is going to be releasing this year for the Nintendo Switch, but of course, if I've missed like 1 or 2 games, please let me know in the comments below, because yeah, like I kind of feel bad if I left out some games and different developers. If you did like today's video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, as I do cover both Nintendo Switch and JRPG content, and of course, very soon, we will be covering a lot of Nintendo Switch 2 content on the channel. So stay tuned for that and subscribe for more if you want to keep up to date with everything Nintendo and JRPG. So until the next time everybody, Upper Nimbus is signing off.